Yeah, this video tutorial looks at the mathematical strand of number, and more specifically, we're going to focus our understanding on scientific notation. So what is scientific notation? Well, essentially scientific notation is a way of writing really large numbers or really small numbers. Okay, it makes it easy for us to do some calculation and some notation. Scientific notation is always written in the form of a times 10 to the power of b, okay, where a is always greater or equal to 1 but less than 10, and b is either positive or negative, okay. If the original number that you're looking at, that you're converting into scientific notation, is greater than 10, then b is going to be positive. If the original number is less than 1, then b is going to be negative. And if the original number is between 1 and 10, then b can be 0. So let's have a look at some example questions here. It says, write the following using scientific notation. I've got some steps here on the right-hand side of the screen just to help you to be able to determine how to do this correctly. So the first thing says, move the decimal point so that it is behind the first significant figure. Okay, the first digit in the number that isn't a 0. So if we're going to do that for our first example, we've moved it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've now moved it 5 spots. The first number is now your A value. So this is going to be 5.4. Okay, that's our A value. Remember that scientific notation is A times 10 to the power of B. So we've now turned it into 5.4. The number of times you moved the decimal point to begin with is your B value. Okay, so now it becomes times 10 to the power of 5 because we've moved it 5 times. If we've moved the decimal point to the left, all right, which we have in this case because it's gone this way, then b is going to be positive. If you've moved it to the right, b is going to be negative. So let's have a look at our second example here. We've got the decimal place, 1, 2, 3. We've moved it 3 spots, and it's now given us 3.45. We times that by 10 to the 3, but we've moved it right, so this has to be a negative. If we look at our third example, we've already got the decimal point behind our first significant figure. So this is simply 9 by 10 to the power of 0 because we haven't moved it at all. And in our last example, okay, we can expand these brackets and we can go 8 times 3 times 10 squared times 10 cubed gives us 24 times 10 to the power of 5. We can't have 24, okay, because our A value, remember, this is our A value. It needs to be between 1 and 10, okay, so it can't be 24. We now have to make it 2.4, so this becomes 2.4, which means we've actually moved the decimal point to the left. Therefore, we need to increase our 5, or our power of 5, to a power of 6. Here is, I would like you to have a go at some practice questions. Please feel free to pause the video. When you think you've got the correct answers, continue the video and we'll see how you went. Okay, so let's see how you went with scientific notation. In our first question, we need to move the decimal point 3 spots to the left. So this becomes 5.406. All right. We've moved it 3 spots to the left, which means that it's positive 3. In our second example, we've moved the decimal spot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots. So this becomes 2.3 by 10 to the 7. We've moved it again to the left, so we know it's going to be positive. In our third example, we've moved the decimal spot 4 spots to the right. This becomes 2.13 by 10 to the 4, but this has to be a negative because we've moved the decimal spot to the right. In our fifth example, okay, 3 times 4, this becomes 12. 10 squared times 10 to the power of 4 is 10 to the power of 6. But we know that we can't actually have 12, so this needs to be changed to 1.2. If we've moved the decimal spot to the left, which we have here because it would have normally been 12.0, if we've moved it one spot like this, we need to increase the 6 to a 7, becomes 10 to the power of 7. And with our last example, 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 to the power of 6 divided by 10 to the power of 4 is 10 to the power of 2.